Hey Remarkable Lifers, this is Craig.
And this is KJ.
And today we want to talk to you about having aging parents who live in the States or abroad while we are living abroad and having to navigate that delicate situation of them needing help or medical situations and all of that. Because, well,
it's something that you're going to have to deal with.
It is, and we know that firsthand, so we're going to share our stories with you right now. Okay, so if you're new here, welcome. If you're returning, thanks for coming back, and don't forget to like, subscribe, share, all of those things. If you find this valuable, it really helps us. But let's get on to the topic.
Whenever you live a distance from your aging parents, emergencies are going to come up. You know, things happen, and you have to deal with that. I was thinking about this earlier. We live in Mexico, and your parents are older. My mom is older, and they live in the States. And I was thinking about this, and living where we live, we live just 45 minutes south of Guadalajara, and so we can get to the airport really quickly. There are flights that run 24 hours a day back to the States. Just like every hour on the hour, there's somewhere going, right? Yeah. But, it's really no different than, like, let's say that you live in LA and your family lives in New York. The distance is the distance, right? It's not really a big hurdle just because you live in another country. It's more about the distance. And so, but sometimes whenever you don't live in the immediate vicinity of your parents or your other loved ones, and things happen, and you kind of have to, or you're going to have to deal with the emotional side of not necessarily being there. So like in my case, my mom had a scheduled surgery. It kind of happened, and it was one of those situations where she told me she was going to have the surgery. Post-op was like 2 weeks later. Due to the wonderful medical system in the United States, apparently you don't know a whole lot of stuff until after the surgery is over. Like, are you getting rehab or in-home care or what? You don't know.
Wait and see.
Yeah, and which that makes it very difficult on someone like us, because we do live a distance. And so figuring out plans like, do I need to go back now? What's going on? Who's going to be heading this up? Who's going to be helping? And trying to figure all that out. And there's a helplessness that you feel.
Yeah, a little bit of guilt sometimes.
Yeah.
Because you're like, if I was there, I could just pop by, But in our case, we come from two different cities. Our families are in two different cities. So one of us is going to always feel that way. Because even, we would be living someplace else, or even if we live in one of those cities, you still are going to have the other parent to feel bad about. And it's not, we're not looking for sympathy for this.
No.
We made this decision. Life took us to certain directions.
But if you're planning on doing something like this is a real situation that you might or probably will have to deal with. And so it's one of those things you do need to think about, And so while my mom, this was kind of a last minute planned, sort of a thing, Craig has had a very different situation pop up.
Yeah. So in the process of all of this, I got a phone call that my dad fell and hurt himself. Now, my dad's been declining a little bit over the years since we moved here. He's definitely a faller, and he has done it and done it good, and definitely did a lot of damage. And we're looking at, what can be done right now at this point. So for me, I'm in contact with my brother. I have a brother, sister-in-law, family members and such there who are always there for them and step up for them. Thank you, by the way. And this is part of the conversations that we had up front before we moved. We made the decision, and then we had these conversations and said, hey, we're wanting to do this, and we understand that could leave a little bit of a gap, and how do you feel about that? We were very lucky that our family said, go, we will step up. JoJo's even weighing in on this. If you can hear her growling, she's chewing on her bone. But, they stepped up. They said, hey, we want you to have this experience and go do that. When the time comes, it's a little different. You've got to, okay, they're dealing with it and you feel bad about being out of the loop.
Well, in your situation, this was This was an emergency situation.
Yes.
Something happened, and now it's one of those situations where Craig's is in the unfortunate position of having to make the decision whether he flies back home now. We do have a scheduled trip to go back, in about a month or so, and but it's one of those situations where you have to make that decision. Do you need to go back now because in a month it may be too late?
And am I going, if everything's going to be okay, I trust my brother, am I going just to appease my own feelings, and would I be in the way? They've got this handled, kind of.
By the way, though, for the viewers and subscribers, that is perfectly acceptable. If you are going to appease your own emotions,
that's true.
That is something that is very valid and very important.
But it's what goes through your brain.
Yeah, it is.
I'm kind of letting you see that right now. You wonder. There's nothing I could have done. There's nothing that can be that my presence there will change except personally, and that's the stuff that you have to consider. As far as the care, he's getting good care. As far as your mom, she's getting good care.
Mm-hmm.
It's I'm not there, and while they may feel like that we've abandoned them, that was never our intention.
Although they've never given, none of them have ever given any indication of that, but that may not be your situation.
Right. You may have somebody that's like,
feel like
you're leaving me. And that's a real emotion. And that's why we suggest that you have these conversations before you go. It's sometimes difficult.
Yeah.
But, you need to plan what you're going to do. We have friends here who also are in that situation with older parents, and they have come up with some really creative ways to make sure they can get in touch. They set them up with, Zoom or whatever on their phones, or buy them an iPad or whatever. Have family members that check in. And we even have one friend who uses the Volaris Pass, which is the airline, where they buy basically an annual pass, and then they can schedule plane tickets at the last minute.
Yeah.
I think you can't do it. This isn't a commercial for them, but
no,
you can't book it less than 48 hours.
If it's
hours?
an international flight, I think it has to be within 72 hours, and if it's domestic, it's within 24. So you kind of have to have some flexibility there. But if you are just going back and forth on a regular basis and stuff, it can make a lot of financial sense to do that. So there's a lot of things that can really help with that.
Absolutely, and there's people that just take regular trips. They just plan regular trips once a month, every 2 months, every 3 months, whatever their situation calls for.
But sometimes these short, these short time frame things kind of pop up. Like my mom, even though it was scheduled, it was still kind of a last minute scheduling. Your dad, this was an emergency situation, and so something that is extremely important if you decide to move abroad is make sure you have an emergency fund. Make sure you've got a credit card that with a good limit on it that you can use. It's very important that you have those resources available to yourself to be able to get back if you need to get back.
Yeah, and you can make all the plans in the world that you want, but when things happen, you've got to be ready. So that emergency fund is not something you're like, I'll save it up once I get there. I'd have that before you go.
Oh, yeah.
Because in my case, I'll give you the example 3 years ago when we moved here. We were on our way here, and the last things I said were, okay, nobody died, nobody get hurt, I got to get down there and get settled, and then I can come back.
He literally said,
"Don't
don't break your neck, don't do anything right, all that kind of stuff." And within 24 hours of us leaving St. Louis,
we got a phone call that my dad had fallen and broken his neck.
Yeah,
so,
seriously. Yeah.
If you look back in our channel at the beginning of our journey 3 years ago, you can find that video, a lot worse quality, but telling the story. But he recovered from that. Now he's done it again. So something similar. So. I feel bad for him. I don't want anybody to be in that pain and all of that. But the truth of the matter is he was a fall risk. But that's why you prepare. You know these things. There's also this isn't a video about your own health, but there's also those types of situations that you need to prepare for, and an emergency fund is essential for that.
Yes.
Here in Mexico, you have to be able to pay up front through the private medical system. If you're on any other kind of medical system, you have to pay that up front. There are insurances that you can get here. Again, not a video about that. We are not the experts. But I am an expert in telling you, have an option to pay. Because if you come here with simply a monthly allowance that you're using and no reserve, if anything happens, it is a major issue. And then some people do fly back and forth, go to the States for their medical care.
Oh, yeah.
All of that stuff. But it's just essential to plan ahead, think it through, and understand what you're doing.
Yeah.
So for us, right now, we're in the process of trying to figure out the logistics and what my family needs of me.
And what do I
need to do personally?
For yourself?
Right.
Yes. I keep trying to impress this upon him.
Yes. Yes.
What does he need for himself?
Exactly, and that's something you have to decide. But I'm also understanding that if I misjudge that, I won't be blaming my brother for that. That was my decision. No. He has stepped up beyond.
Yes.
And the rest of the family, my sister-in-law, my niece, nephew. So, there's no blame. It's just you do have to figure that out. And I'm going to be doing that, and we're going to be figuring it out in the next few weeks, and next few days,
next few hours.
What we're going to do, yeah. So you never know. You can see me coming live to you from the Midwest, but we'll play that by ear. And as always, we wish my father a very speedy recovery as best as possible.
And so my mom, she's doing fine. Surgery went great. Got home health and all that sort of stuff.
And wishing her a speedy recovery.
Wishing her a speedy recovery, of course, and all of that. But all the reports coming into me are that she's doing great. So that's wonderful. That's fantastic. But I kind of want, I know we're closing out the video, and I want to say, really the point of this video is make sure that you're emotionally and financially ready for these kinds of emergencies or unexpected sort of things. Because,
as best you can be.
As best as you can be, because they are going to come up. And just prepare yourself. These things are going to come up. Just accept that and put in place the things that you can.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we hope that you found this valuable. If you do, make sure you like, subscribe, share. We'll try to do more information on this, and we're going to be trying to, give you some valuable information as we go forward.
Yeah, stay tuned to our Facebook page because, if anything happens...
Yeah, if anything happens, I know you guys will be like, what happened? I don't know what happened.
We'll be putting it on Facebook. That's, opposed to, or maybe even some shorts on YouTube. Who knows?
Yeah, it's private family information, but I understand that you guys might want to know.
Yeah.
And so we'll divulge just what we can.
Yeah.
All right?
Anything
else?
No, I think we're good.
All right. Well... Hey, I mean, if this doesn't prove it, if you haven't already,
go find your truly remarkable life.
Yes. Thank you all.
Bye, y'all.
Hey, Dad, it's Craig.
Hi, Dad, it's KJ.
Hey, I'm sorry we're not there. It sounds like
you took a tumble.
You took a fall, and it hurt a lot, and I'm very sorry for that. I hope you're doing a little better. I hope you're in good care. Chris is keeping us updated. Dawn is keeping us updated, and we appreciate that. But we're right now just trying to figure out how to get up there and when. But we will be coming up to see you soon, as soon as we can. But we also know that you got some stuff to deal with, so we just wanted to make sure you knew we're thinking about you guys.
Take care of yourself. We love you.
You too, Mom. Get some rest.
Yes.
Don't try to do everything all at once. And JoJo wanted to say hi. This is our dog, JoJo. So she climbed up on my lap. So
she wanted to say hi.
Cute dogs always make things better. But I'm sorry this happened, and I hope you are at least able to get better as quickly as possible.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay? We'll see you soon. Love you.
Love you. Bye.